meeting you right where you are on your foster care journey. This is the Forgotten Podcast.
Welcome to the Forgotten Podcast, where we are sharing the stories of the foster care community and offering hope and practical help for your foster parenting journey. Today, we are speaking with one of our TFI advocates from Spokane, Washington, Candace Smouse. If you're interested in advocacy in your area, I want you to know our next application cycle opens on June 1st. So please head over to theforgotteninitiative.org to learn more about the role and apply. Well, Candace has been married for 18 years, and she is a foster, adoptive, and birth mom to 6 kids currently. They have been fostering as a family for 5 years, and she is passionate about serving the foster care community. She has many years of experience caring for their now adopted child who has autism. Now, while each child is unique in their needs and experience, Candace is here to help us explore common fears foster parents often face when saying yes. Also, how to fully utilize available resources in your area to give our very special kids the help that they deserve. So, Candace, I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited about this.
I'm happy to hear and learn from you on this particular issue. So, as we begin here, I believe many foster parents are just have a concern when they think about, could I ever say yes to a child with special needs? But this was something you and your husband did. You said, yes, we want to serve kids who have some special needs. How did that come about? How did you find yourself in that place where you're like, we're ready to do this?
I think that God was kind of prepping my heart many years before we even stepped into foster care when we thought we were only going to have 2 kids, and then our 3rd baby was a surprise. And then our family was really complete. And then I started having some dreams
Hmm.
about a special needs child that we adopted. And it was a
Hmm.
reoccurring dream that I was having. So I think that just sort of opened my heart where like reality setting in was like, I have 2, 3 is enough. I don't need to add anymore. But it sort of softened my heart towards it. And then when we did decide to open our home and be foster parents, I think that piece in my heart was already there. And so we just decided, whatever God has for us, for our family, I'm not going to stand in the way of that. So it was scary because we didn't have a lot of experience with really any kind of disability. So it's a scary yes, but there's on the box or on the paperwork, there's boxes you can check when you're filling out things to be a foster parent that says like I won't take this or I only want this, and we just kind of
Mhm.
left everything blank. Other than the age,
Huh.
we did want to stick within like younger than our youngest biological child, but otherwise we just
Mhm.
said let's not limit it and see what happens.
Wow. And you had been kind of prepared for this. What about your husband?
So I would say I throughout the whole fostering process, I was kind of driving us. He was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'll do this, but I'm not as
Mhm.
passionate about it as you are, right? But yes, we have an extra bedroom and let's fill it if there's a kid in need." So and the special needs piece, he didn't have anything. He wasn't afraid. I don't think that he I don't think he really thought all that much about it. It was kind of the same, like, "Yeah, it's all right. Well, like what as it comes, we'll address it and go from there." So
And that's an interesting thing because for anyone who's been a foster parent, and if you haven't been a foster or adoptive parent, there is, yes, this checklist. And it is intimidating because it's like they will specify a lot of things. Are you willing to take a child who has experienced this? Are you willing to, but you left them blank. And so it's like you had the range of special needs is large. And so was there a sense of a fear, or were you just at this place of like, we're expectant for and just kind of whatever the Lord has, like you said?
I think that I tend to be a worrier. So I think there was an underlying sense of fear just in the unknown, but also just expected, like just excitement of what could possibly be next for our family. And adoption was actually not even in my mind. I just wanted to stand in the gap with families and just foster. So yeah,
But of course, that also is part of your story now as well,
it is
how
now.
God
Yes,
works so often.
yes.
So, okay, so you're now, like, entering this space. How long until you got a child?
So from the time we got our license to when we actually had a placement in our home, it was actually about 6 months. And we had originally licensed with a child placing agency, so not directly with the state. And my understanding now is that's why it took a little while. Apparently, state in at least in Washington, state licensed families kind of get called first, and then child placing agencies get I don't like to say it this way, but sort of like the leftovers. So we got calls for kids that were harder to place. And we actually had to say no to a couple. The first one was a boy who was at Seattle Children's Hospital on the other side of the state with a trach and all kinds of medical issues. And I couldn't leave
Mhm.
my three biological children to go to the other side of the state and be with him.
Right.
So that was our very first call. And, first time you want to say yes, of course. So my heart, I was like, I want to say yes and I can't do it. And then the next call was for twins because they can be harder to place and keep together. And at the time where we were, we didn't have space. So we had to say no to that. So it took a little bit. And then our son Anthony came into our home January of 2021 and he never left.
What did you know about his special needs at that point?
All I knew was he had autism. I didn't have the level of autism that he had because there's 3 different levels. I didn't really have much information. I knew he had gotten started by his first foster mom in some therapies. So there was several appointments I would have to bring him to. And he's only 8 months younger than my youngest biological child. So we technically stayed within the age range, but we were close to
Yeah,
it.
you were close.
Yeah. So we talked about it and we took a couple weeks, I feel like, and we prayed about it and we said yes to bringing him in. And so his foster mom he was currently living with, she brought him over. We had a play date. We kind of got to see him and get to know him a little bit. And then he actually had an aunt. We were on it was at the time called an FTDM, family planning meeting. And we were on the call and an aunt joined and said, no, I don't want him in foster care. He can come and live with us. So we had these plans and we were on the call to make it official. And then they were like, no, just kidding. And so he moved in with her right around Thanksgiving. And we were out of town visiting family over Christmas. So a month later, and we got a call that said, the aunt doesn't want him anymore. Can you take him? So I said, of course, but I'm out of state. So they found respite for him for a week because the aunt just couldn't do it anymore. And someone took him for a week, and then we got home and we took him. So,
Wow.
and the
And
rest
how
is
old
history.
was he at this point?
It was a month before his fourth birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, and he had only been in care. He got into care in August. So between August and when we got him in January, we were his fourth placement. So that's a short amount
Wow.
of time to be moved that many
That
times.
really is, yes.
Mhm.
And how was his autism playing out at this point?
So when he first came to us, he was totally nonverbal. So he would
Mm.
make kind of grunt, like if he wanted a snack, he would grab my hand and pull me over to the pantry and point. There really weren't any words that he was using. Not potty trained at all. There was a very small amount of foods that he would eat. Lots of chicken nuggets.
I mean, I like that.
I know. I mean, we would go places and I would have to preheat and warm and like bring his chicken nuggets with us because he wouldn't eat if we were out anywhere. So yeah, he had a very specific cup. He would only drink out of that cup. He put everything in his mouth, everything. He did a lot of hitting and kicking at that point, which
Mm,
is still a behavior that we deal with, but it is much less. And
mm.
I think for a kid who can't verbally say how they're feeling,
Absolutely.
especially at that
Mhm.
age, um, is just, well, if you're in my space, you're taking my thing, I'm gonna hit you.
Yeah.
So
Right, right.
yeah,
I mean, it logically makes makes sense,
yeah,
especially to the yeah. Okay, so as I'm thinking about listeners who are like, I've considered special needs, or I'm just wondering if we're open to this. Like, what are some of the ways you prepared yourself as maybe in the waiting, but also specifically once you met your son uh, and recognized that he was going to have some challenges that you were going to have to learn new ways of doing things?
yeah. So it's hard to say. It's really hard to prepare when you don't know what you're preparing for. So I would say in the beginning, it was just a lot of prayer. I think it's the realization that when God is putting something in front of you, He's asked you to step into something difficult. Remembering that He's not asking you to do it alone. He's going to provide what you need. So for us, that was his first foster mom was great. I think she would have kept him if she had the time. She worked full time. I'm a stay at home mom, so I was able to get him to the appointments. But she got him his autism diagnosis. She got him set up with occupational therapy, speech therapy, ABA therapy, which is applied behavioral analysis for anyone who doesn't know what ABA is. And so that was really helpful to start. And then for me, it was a lot of Googling. Like I didn't know what ABA therapy was. So why are we taking him to this thing 5 days a week? And then as we got to know Anthony, we switched ABA companies 4 times to try and really get what fit him and us the best.
Mhm.
And in the end, we ended up with an in-home company who they came to our house and worked with specifically how we parent. What does our environment look like? What are struggles we're having here? Instead of dropping them off somewhere for 3 to 4 hours and not knowing what's going on. And a big piece of that too is there was parent education that came along with it. So really, I mean, 6 months into taking him, I was struggling. I felt like I was way in over my head.
Mhm.
And then 6 months later, I mean, we even had a conversation with his guardian ad litem. Like, I don't know. Like,
Mhm.
we might have to start looking for another place. This is really
Yeah.
hard. But we kept going. And then 6 months after that, so about a year in, we were able to find just the right fit with the ABA therapists and this company, and they really took us under their wing, and they're still involved in our lives today. They still help us with things, and they came to his adoption day and supported there. So I would say the biggest way to prepare would be just knowing that there are lots of things in, I guess it depends on what area you live in, but I would say doing the research, knowing what's available, looking at the different kinds of therapies, and then lots and lots of prayer.
Yeah, that's so good. Let's talk about that season when you were like, "I don't know if we can keep doing this." What were some of the reasons, and it doesn't even have to be the specific reasons, but, like, what was causing this, like, "It's too much. I'm way in over my head."
A big part of it for me was because he's so close in age to our youngest biological son. I was starting to notice some behaviors from our son towards Anthony because I think there was some jealousy there because Anthony had so many needs, he required a lot of my time and attention. So our son went from being the baby to not, right? All of a sudden, there's this other kid here, and he can't, like, he's the same size as me. He's basically the same age as me, but I can't play with him like I can other friends my age. So there was this kind of disconnect for them, and then it caused tension. And so then for me as a mom, there's guilt there on both sides. So that was a really big piece of it. And then also just the reality of what it means to be a caregiver for somebody with
Right,
higher needs. It's taxing.
right.
So I think I wish I knew then what I know now, which is like, this is parenting in general. Every stage is hard, right? Like they're in a hard stage when they're toddlers, and then they grow out of that, and then there's something else that they grow into, and that's hard. And it's similar with autism. Like there are some struggles we had then that we're still having now, but he's 9 now, and he is mostly potty trained, and he has expanded the things that he eats, and he will sometimes play with his siblings in certain ways and certain things. But there's things that I thought, I don't know if he'll ever do this. Like, am I going to be doing this for the rest of my the rest of my life for him? And he has made progress. So, but then when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to see
Mhm.
past it, and you don't know what the future holds.
And you don't know,
Um,
right.
yeah. So I think it was really hard all around.
Oh, that seems absolutely, yeah. My husband and I were just talking about this whole concept of trajectory. It's like when something goes wrong, and then the next thing that happens in relation goes wrong also, it's like our brains are like, "It's all going downhill from here."
Yeah.
And on the opposite side, when something goes right and then something next in that same situation goes right, it's kinda like, "Oh, things are looking good." And I think that I mean, that I wonder if there was some of that, it's like you don't know, you're just seeing kind of the negative and the hard right now or in that
Yeah.
season, and it's like everything feels like why did we blow up our family like this, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I will say too, we also got him, like, COVID was still very much a thing. So everywhere
Mhm.
we went,
That
we
adds
were all
yes.
required to wear masks, and trying to get a child with autism to wear a mask
Mm,
out in public is challenging. And then, the looks that you get, and the
mhm.
feeling of like you have to give explanations and people get upset with you, and that
Right.
added to it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your experience with the agency as you are a home and have been a home that they can call on to accept hard to place kids. What has that been like for you in relationships to the agency?
It's been very interesting. On one hand, I love that they know that our family has a heart for these kids and wants to be a safe place for them. And on the other hand, we have a small house and we are full to the brim. And um, it's hard because I hate saying no. It just breaks my heart every time they call to say, "Hey, we have this kiddo. We think you'd be an awesome fit." I'm like, "I think I would be too." And I just don't have the
Yeah.
space. So we've done some emergency placements for kiddos with autism and some respite. There's one that I desperately recently wanted to be able to say yes to. He was here for a weekend, but he's level 3, pretty severe autism, and he really needs 24-hour around the clock care and his own bedroom. And because our house is as small as it is, we've got bunk beds, and people are sharing spaces, and it's just not a reality for him. So this last time when they asked me, I said, I can't say yes, and I hate this. I hate that I can't say yes. So I said, what would it look like to start a group home for children that are coming into the foster care system who have autism? So I'm praying about and exploring what God might have for
Mm,
Spokane and whether or not I could be a part of something like that. There's not, there's just not enough, there's not enough foster homes in general. And then
mhm,
there's really not a lot of foster homes that are open to taking kids with any kind of special needs. Especially, I mean, level 3 autism it's a lot. It's a lot to ask. Yeah, my heart's just broken because they need a place too, and they need love and they need care. Um, so I'm hoping maybe I can work somehow with the agency to figure out a solution for these kids. It's hard.
yeah, absolutely. And it
Yeah.
sounds like, yeah, there is a real partnership there. Like there's a real desire to work together and to they know that they can count on you, which is even when you can't say yes, they're still calling and they still know you're a safe place for that, which is beautiful. Hey friends, it's Jami, just popping in here for a minute to say we love to hear from you. And it's really important to us that what we're bringing to you is actually helping you, is meeting felt needs. Would you give us a rating and review or contact us directly and just let us know how we are being helpful, but also are there ways we can be more helpful to you? We want to hear from you. We're encouraged by you and we're here for you. So thank you for taking a few moments to do that for us. And now let's head back to the episode. Let's talk specifically, you've mentioned level 3 autism. Let's talk about the levels of autism. Like, again, as listeners, as people are listening, and maybe God has placed something on their heart for kids with autism or like for kids with special needs, but we're specifically leaning in on autism today. But what do they need to know? So maybe it's starting out by the different levels just to have an understanding.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, I have experience with my son and the few kids who have come in, but I'm certainly not an expert. So I'll start by just saying that. But so there's three levels and it used to be different. They used to do, I think level one used to be called Asperger's. And so they've kind of switched around. So level one autism is very high functioning. It's the kids that you see that in school, they're super good at math and can have conversations with people. Maybe it's a little bit awkward, right? So typically that would be like a snapshot of maybe level one. And then our son Anthony is level two. So he is learning, he's in speech still twice a week. So he's learning how to communicate, but is not conversational. Little funny example would be he, if he wants to have something to eat for dinner, for example, instead of being like, "Hey, mom, can we have pizza for dinner?" It's like, I love pizza. Like he'll just say how much he loves something 500 times instead of actually asking for it. But it's words, right? So
Yeah.
there's some communication there. Some of it's functional, some of it's not.
Uh-huh.
He's still like he's potty trained, but can't wipe himself.
Uh,
Can't brush his own teeth. Those kinds of things. So like his needs are
uh-huh.
higher. He needs a caregiver. Definitely
Uh-huh.
not independent. But can do some things. Like he's learned to dress mostly. Things are
Mhm.
backwards often. That's okay. Um, and then level three would be so just using an example of some of the kiddos that we've had, this last little boy, he had to wear a helmet because he was banging his head on the wall constantly and would injure himself. No words at all. Doesn't eat much orally, so he had a G tube.
Mhm.
He, grinds his teeth a lot and just kind of paced the living room back and forth. And then leaving to go somewhere was really hard. He would throw himself on the floor getting into the car. So there's a lot of like physical help that he needed. Also, still in diapers. Definitely not sleeping through the night. Um, Mouthing things. So I would say it goes from like pretty functional, maybe a little bit awkward, all the way to like really not functioning on their own at all, needing assistance with everything that they do. And it's such a wide, I mean, you can land anywhere on there. So even saying there's three levels is simplifying it quite a lot.
So obviously, as you parent kids with any kinds of special needs, there are unique challenges.
Mhm.
What are some that you have found, maybe even for sure in your life, but maybe in the lives of those you know who are parenting kids? Are there any kind of common unique challenges that come with this kind of parenting?
Yeah, a theme that seems to come up a lot is outbursts for kids with autism. And it can look a little bit differently for everyone, but that's something that I've noticed in talking with other parents, just observing other children, or even going and visiting my son's. He's in a special needs classroom at school with only kids with autism are in that room, and they each are so unique, and they all can have really big behaviors. So it's
Mhm.
tricky for people with autism. It seems to when something doesn't go their way, whether that's a difference in routine,
Mhm.
or they've messed up on something, there's something that triggers that individual, and then it can cause really big behaviors. And for us as parents, that can feel very challenging, especially when it's in public and you're doing your best to utilize the tools in your toolbox and calm them down. And then the looks that you get from people who don't understand and don't know what's going on is really challenging. So I would say, just kind of like overall through all the levels, that seems to be sort of a theme, is like there's always a trigger for your kid. And then there's some sort of large, difficult behavior. And then dealing with, or not dealing with, choosing to ignore other people's judgment and input and opinions, when it's really hard to know, unless you're living with this child, really what they're experiencing.
Do you feel like you have to walk on eggshells when you go out in concerns of, like, that this behavior is gonna show up and how am I gonna handle it?
I do. I feel like in the beginning I did more
Mhm.
because specifically our son is very he's very loud. There's not a lot of volume control. So, and he always has little toys or stuffies in his hands. And so, and he's always kind of conducting or, playing with them. And so we're out in public and he's like yelling and waving his arms around and throwing his toys. And I'm like, I used to get kind of embarrassed and like shush him and, oh, it's like we're out in
Mhm.
public. And I'm like, you know what? There's still some of it walking on eggshells. And also he is who he is. And
Mm.
people can choose to think what they would like, but this is Anthony, and he shouldn't
Mm.
have to feel sorry that that's who he
Mm.
is, and so I
Yeah.
shouldn't feel sorry. Like, this is my son, and
Yeah.
he loves his toys, and he's boisterous, and
Yeah.
so, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. We have talked a lot about some of the challenges, but yeah, I it's fun to watch you talk about Anthony because I see that joy and like just there's the love in your eyes and your face for him. What are some of the things that have been really rewarding or ways you've understood the Lord more because of
Mm.
Anthony and those other kids in your life?
I think for me, the thing that I've seen, it's interesting because oftentimes one of the big things for kids on the spectrum is they won't make eye contact. However, with Anthony and the other children who have entered our home I have had experience with, it's not long, constant eye contact, but there are moments where we connect and it's like they're trying to communicate with me on on a soul level, like I'm here, right? Like I might not be able to fully communicate to you, but like I'm a person, like God created me just like he created you, and they're
Hmm.
just precious. And Anthony I feel really grateful for this too, because also oftentimes kids on the spectrum can't do touch from other people, and he loves to cuddle. He will just throw himself into your lap and wants tickles, and so physical affection is definitely his thing, which I'm so grateful for. I would say one of the things that I have really learned and kind of worried about in the beginning is, would Anthony ever be able to understand the love of Jesus? And, like
Mm.
my other children are getting to the ages where they're making choices and wanting to be baptized. And I think that I felt sad for a while, like Anthony won't be able to choose that. Like, will he ever get to the point that he'll understand that? And I think that the Lord's really just revealed to me that I've created them and um, I haven't forgotten about him, right? Like I think that there's a special way in which the Lord can connect with Anthony and these other individuals with autism and more severe autism, on a soul level, that we can't understand it, right? But he's not going to create someone who's not able to experience his love. So I think that's really opened up my mind to just who God is, and I think it's amazing.
How have you found yourself like learning how to advocate for Anthony, particularly in school in this season of his life?
It was a little bit tricky in the beginning, and I'm figuring it out. Honestly, his ABA therapist that we found, that had done in-home parent education and things, they had offered to come to some of his IEP meetings. So an IEP is an individualized education plan. So when you have a child with a diagnosis, you are able to advocate for this in the school, and they do a whole evaluation of them. Um, and having extra people to assist with that who understood what an IEP was, because again, Anthony was our first introduction to this. So I didn't even know what an IEP was and what it was for and how it functioned. So finding someone who was knowledgeable was really great. And then they taught me how to advocate for him. So now I have learned, like, I
Hmm.
understand what it is. And now, like this year, we switched into a new school and a new program. And I've been able to walk into that classroom with confidence and meet with that teacher and say,
Mm.
here's the things that I know about Anthony. Here's what he'll do well with. Here's what he won't do well with. And
Hmm.
advocate in a way that just says, like, don't, these are the things I'm not interested in doing with him. Or for example, PE is hard for him. And I think,
Mhm.
probably the bright lights and gyms are noisy. And so he just struggles all
Mhm.
the time. So we're still working through. We've had several meetings this year to kind of talk through, okay, how do we accommodate that for him? Can he do a
Mhm.
separate thing during PE, or does he wear a
Mhm.
weighted vest and noise canceling headphones? And so we've tried several things, but it's really just kind of being the squeaky wheel. Like, you have to check in, you have to ask questions, and then they are supposed to document things. I think that was one of the most intimidating things coming into this, is like, I don't know how to do this. But I think, there are people to help. I think probably in every state, in every county, there's people to help. And just remembering too that the school system is legally obligated to make sure that your child is included, and learning in the way that they can learn. Right? It might look different, but they have a right to be at school and have it be as successful as possible. So there's a lot of resources at the school's fingertips, and they won't often just offer them up front. But if you continue to ask and you can call as many meetings as you want, you can get the principal involved. I've gotten there's like a special education um, district person that kind of oversees all the schools in our district, and I've gotten her involved in the past. So just keep. I guess it would be like, don't give up. If you feel like your kid is not getting something that they need at school, don't give up. Keep asking. Keep calling meetings. You can be that mom. It's okay.
One thing I'm noticing in you is you have a confidence in, like, this is what my son is, who he is. My son, this is what he needs, and like, you're not trying to please people, right? You're trying
Yeah.
to really, and I'm guessing that has probably been something that's grown in you over the years.
'Cause I am a people pleaser. So I went into this whole experience thinking, of course other people have his best interest at heart. And of
Mhm.
course they're going to do their best and offer all of the things.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't they?
Right.
Um, so I do feel like becoming a special needs mom, I do have to be careful because it can kind of skew, like, I can go the other way and then expect the worst of people. And so I do have to be careful and go into meetings, not immediately being upset and assuming something, right? Just asking questions,
Yes,
because
yes.
I mean, you have to be the mama bear that really can sometimes, gets pushy and not mean, but
Mhm.
yeah, you just sometimes you have to advocate hard. It really all depends on the staff and the school, and
But you're keeping the child in mind first.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Would you say that your trust in the Lord has grown, um, as you have opened up your home and your heart to kids who have special needs?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned towards the beginning, that I don't think that the Lord asks us to do hard things and puts things in front of us, um, to do it by ourselves. And I think that
Mhm.
this is, one of many examples in my life where he's shown me that. He's really shown up.
Hmm.
I think that if I didn't have the relationship with the Lord that I do, and the faith and the trust that He's walking me, through this, when it was hard at 6 months, I probably would have given up. Um, and now I cannot even imagine our life without Anthony in it. I think too, I just doing foster care in general, I think, there's just a lot of, you have to really hold everything with open hands. So I think there's just a level of like, I legitimately I cannot do this on my own. And,
Mm.
allowing him to be in that space and showing what he can do and the people he's brought into our lives to support us and just love our family well through it. Um, it's been amazing to see. I don't know how people do it without. I've joined some Facebook groups, for autistic, or moms of autistic children, and there is a lot of despair. There's a lot of posts on
Mm.
that page that, I feel like there are a
Hmm.
lot of parents out there that don't have that hope, and they are stuck in that place of, is it ever going to get better? Um,
Mm.
so I'm just so grateful that we have the Lord to
Mm.
walk us through that and keep us, giving us hope. And sometimes, Jamie, hope isn't until heaven. Like Anthony, there's a high possibility he will never move out of our home. And then you have to think through which one of my kids will be his caregiver when he gets older, and what will the future look like? And that can be difficult to think about, and that can be kind of depressing. But because we have hope, knowing, Anthony might not be able to use the full functionality of his brain right now and communicate, conversationally, and express all of his needs and wipe his own bottom. But someday in heaven, that will not be an issue, right? And if we will have new bodies, and, um, he'll be able to fully communicate and tell us about his life and all of his thoughts. And so when I keep my mind on that, um, yeah, there's a lot of hope there. So I think it's easier to, for me, it feels easier to see the hope when you're in the despair and you are accepting the hard things, because that's where God really, he just shows up.
Is there any, as you think about, these last several years that you've stepped in this world of special needs parenting, is there any one or two like highlights that's come to mind or blessings that you're like, wow, this is I go back to these sorts of things.
One of the biggest blessings that has come from opening our home to special needs is, one, I feel like it has really just expanded our world. We were kind of living in our own little bubble with our three neurotypical, you know, wonderfully developing, children. And, I might have unknowingly been one of those people in the grocery store, kind of looking on accident at someone having a fit and not understanding. So I feel like it's really opened up our world to, what other people experience. It's not one size fits all, right? Like everybody is so vastly different, and God has created it that way intentionally. And then I would say I think probably the biggest blessing out of all of this would be, my children and their ability now to see others and just immediately have acceptance and understanding for them.
Mm.
Um,
Huh.
they love when we say yes to bringing kids,
Hmm.
and they want to understand more. They have a
Hmm.
curiosity and, just an acceptance for people now that I don't think we had
Huh.
before, just because we were so unaware.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge blessing in our life.
I love to hear that. Final question. I'm thinking of foster parents listening who are struggling in the thick of special needs parenting right now, and they're in that place of despair. They're not sure they can keep going. They're maybe even angry with God for putting them, for you called me to this and I said yes, and now this is too hard. Just any encouragement you have for those listening today. Let's finish with that.
I think mostly I would just say, just remember that you're not alone. You're not doing this. It feels isolating, but you're not isolated because there are so many other parents that are doing the same things day in and day out, having the same feelings. Um, and God's with you, and he's not he's not leaving you. And each day is a new day. I mean, that might sound kind of silly, but there have been moments where I've had to just remind myself, like, okay, today's really, really hard, and we're gonna go to sleep. Tomorrow we get to start over. I remind myself and my kids of that all the time. Yeah, just remember you're not alone. And there's a couple of podcasts, there's books, there's all
Mm,
sorts of things out there to remind yourself of that fact.
mm,
And it can be helpful to listen to and read things too of other people who even have it harder than you do. It's a
mm,
good reminder, like, okay, this is really hard. And also, there's other things that could be going on. And right
mhm.
now we're just dealing
Yeah,
with this. Like, it sort of puts things into perspective.
yeah,
Um, yeah, you're not alone.
yeah. And that's sometimes all that we need to remember is we're not alone, because the enemy wants to make us feel that you're so alone. There's nobody understands, nobody cares, and it will never change. And those are lies from the enemy. So Candace, thanks for being on. Thanks for sharing. If you have any book recommendations or podcast recommendations on this topic, send them to us. We'll put those in the show notes for our listeners. But thank you. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me. This was great. It's something I'm passionate about, and I'm excited to be able to share that with other people.
Well, you did a great job.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you again for listening today. I hope this episode resonated with you. Let us know your thoughts. We really love hearing from you. And as always, if you want to learn more about TFI, catch up on past episodes, read engaging articles, or partner with us on mission with a gift of any amount, head over to theforgotteninitiative.org. And until next time, remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed, misunderstood, or questioning, why am I doing what I'm doing? Remember, you have a whole community here who cares for you. And even more, Jesus is fully able to meet your every need. Lean on Him and find rest in Him today. I look so forward to being together again very soon.
Resonate.